so we've got a few people logging on. We're going to get ready in just a moment to go over your homework. So if you have that, that's what we're going to be going over. And so I'm just going to give you a preview into what it is that we're working on, which is this standard MAFS 5 for 5th grade, NF for our fractions, and then 2.5 is the standard number. And what we're doing is we're working on interpreting multiplication as scaling or resizing it. Now, don't forget with that, what that basically means is that I'm able to compare one factor to the other factor. I can compare the product of one factor on the basis of the other factor. So we've got some rules, and we're going to talk about those rules before we get started. Same rules we talked about in class. So the first rule is when I multiply a given number, by a fraction less than 1. So when I'm multiplying a number by a fraction less than 1, that means that I'm basically taking that number and I'm cutting it into pieces, and I'm not going to keep all of it. I'm going to keep a piece of it. So if I cut it into thirds and I did 2/3, then I would keep 2 of those pieces and I would be getting rid of a piece, so it would be getting smaller. So when you multiply your fraction by a fraction less than 1, the product will be less than the given number. So an example of that would be something like if I said 1/2 times 345. If they said compare 345 to 1/2, I know that if I'm multiplying 345, my answer is going to be less than 345 because, again, I'm cutting it into 2 parts and I'm only keeping one of those equal shares. So that's your example for that. Then we have another rule. So this one is if I'm multiplying by a number less than 1, my product is going to be less than the given number. So the next rule we have is just quite the opposite. If I'm multiplying a fraction, so multiply by a fraction greater than 1, I know that my final product is going to be greater than the other factor. So an example of that would be, for instance, if I took that same number 345 and I multiplied it by 14/11ths. I know that 14/11ths is a fraction greater than 1. So since it's a fraction greater than 1, and my final answer is going to be greater than 345 because, again, I'm taking that and I'm multiplying it by something more than 1. And anytime I multiply it by more than 1, it's going to become greater. So again, same thought process. If I'm multiplying by a fraction greater than 1, my product is going to be greater than the given number. So remember, this could be any number greater than 1. It could be a whole number. It can be an improper fraction like you see here. And then the last rule that we have is if you're multiplying by a fraction equal to 1. So, and hopefully you remember this because this is like such a 3rd grade skill, really. Anytime you're multiplying by a fraction equal to 1, your answer will be equal. It's going to stay the same. So product will be equal. It's not going to get bigger. It's not going to get smaller. It's just going to stay the same. So the only caveat to that I want you to hopefully remember is that it doesn't always have to be represented as 1 this way. It could also be represented as 345 times something like 7 sevenths, because that's still equal to 1. 7 sevenths is 1 whole, because 7 divided by 7 is 1. So again, those are our 3 rules that we're going to be looking at. Multiply a given number by a fraction less than 1, our product is going to be less than our given number. Multiply a fraction by a number greater than 1, our final product is going to be greater than the given number, and then equal to 1, our product will be equal. So we're going to take those, and I'm just going to move it over here, and I'm going to do like a little screenshot so that we can refer back to those rules. Let's do that, and let's see how much I can move this over. Right there. I'm going to go to split screen. Okay, so those rules are going to stay there. And now what we're going to do is we're going to look at the actual sheet that you were given as your homework. So let me see if I can center that. So, hey guys, I see Chloe is on. It looks like maybe Jutavia is on. Nick is on. Hey guys, welcome to my live stream. So in this instance, we're just going to go through it. We're going to unwrap it with cubes because, as good habit as mathematicians, we always want to unwrap our word problems using our cubes strategies. So I'm going to zoom in, maybe just so you can see a little bit better, a little clearer image. What doing? That's hilarious. All right. So look at question 1. Question 1 says two artists are comparing concert ticket sales from their concert ticket sales in West Palm Beach. Future and Drake sold 85,123 tickets in his concert. Kanye West sold 85,123 times 1/3. Which statement compares the number of concert tickets sold? So this is a multiple choice. So before I even want to look at my actual answer choices, I want to go through and unwrap it so I make sure that I understand what the question is actually asking me. So with cubes, we're going to circle out our important numbers first and what they represent. So 85,123 is representative of how many tickets that Future and Drake sold. And then the same thing here, I see 85,123 times 1/3, and that's representative of how many tickets Kanye sold. So what I want to do is I want to go by, underline my question, which is saying which statement compares the number of concert tickets sold. So before I even look at my answer choices, I want you to look back at your rules over to the right side of your screen, where I have Kanye West, I have the amount that was sold by Future and Drake, and I'm multiplying that by 1/3. So am I multiplying that by a fraction greater than 1 or by a fraction less than 1? Hey, Guido. And in this instance, you know that I'm multiplying it by a fraction less than 1. So again, when you're referring to those rules, you should realize that your product will be less than, meaning that Kanye sold less than Future and Drake. So I'm going to write the word less for Kanye. So if Kanye sold less, then by default, you should realize that means that Future sold more. So again, just using that strategy to kind of take mental notes so I understand what it's actually asking me. So I'm going to go through now, and I'm just going to read my answer choices. So letter A says Future and Drake sold 1/3 the number of concert tickets that Future and Drake sold. Okay, so that doesn't make sense, and here's why. This says Future and Drake, and this says Future and Drake. So in this instance, it's comparing themselves against themselves, so that doesn't even make sense. So A definitely does not work. Look at B. B says Future and Drake and Kanye West sold the same number of concert tickets. So in order, again, look at your rules. In order for it to be the same, it would need to be a fraction equal to 1. And this is not equal, so we know that B does not work either. Look at C. Kanye West sold 3 times the number of concert tickets that Future and Drake sold. So I'm going to look at my word problem and look back at Kanye and West and see, did he sell 3 times? Kanye West sold 85,123 times 1/3. So did he sell 3 times? No, he didn't sell 3 times. He sold 1/3 of. So I know that C does not work. So I want to look at my next one, which just has such a typo on it. Kanye West sold 1/3 the number of concert tickets that Kanye sold. This should say Future and Drake. What a typo. I did not make this. I don't even take credit for it at all. I make plenty of mistakes. This one's not mine. And this isn't anybody who's even here, so don't worry about it. Anyways, so if Kanye sold 1/3, let's go back. Did Kanye sell 1/3 of Future and Drake? And that answer is yes, because Future and Drake sold 85,123. Kanye sold that times 1/3. So D would be your correct minus that error. Sorry, I take no credit. Okay, look at number 2. Number 2 says, 2 television stations are comparing the number of viewers that they have in 1 hour. Channel 2 had 34,145 viewers. Woohoo! Channel 4 had 3 times as many viewers as Channel 2. Which expression describes the number of viewers Channel 4 had during that hour? So again, I'm going to use my cubes. I'm going to go through and unwrap my word problem. So my C is circling my number and what it represents. So the first number I see is 34,145. And that represents the number of viewers that Channel 2 had. Look at your next one. Channel 4 says 3 times as many. Boom, I got 3 times as many for Channel 4. So I've got my numbers circled, and now I want to go through and do my U underline my question. Which expression describes the number of viewers Channel 4 had during that time? So be careful that we're looking for Channel 4's comparison, not Channel 2's comparison. And then I want to look for any operation words, what I might see. So operation words on this. Oh, times as many, which tells me I want to do 3 times as many as Channel 2. So I find Channel 2's and do 3 times as many. So let's look. Would A be correct? Would A show Channel 4 having 3 times as many? Right, it's not going to show that's not 3 times as many. That's 1/3 of, but it actually is showing divide by 1/3. So this is a little bit funny because that actually does work, and we're not even learning about that yet. Inverse operation is going to actually tell you that you could do the opposite. So this is the same thing as saying 34,145 times the opposite of 1/3, which would be 3 whole. So that is actually the same thing as this. So I take no credit for that, but A works and B works. So let's go select all on that one, buddies. This we will learn in our next unit. We have not talked about dividing fractions. We'll go there later. But as you can see, what I ended up doing was I kept my first number the same. I changed division into multiplication, and I flipped my 1/3 into 3 whole. 3 over 1 is 3 whole. So I keep, change, flip. We're not there yet. That'll be our next unit. But ta-da! Again, I take no credit for this. Look at C. This one definitely does not work because when we're looking at C, it's saying divide by 3.5 or 3 and 1/3, and we don't have anything about 1/3 anywhere in here. And the same thing for D, 1/2, nothing in there. Not even good distractors on this sheet, guys. Terrible, terrible. I make great distractors. Fast and I'm a great distractor. All right, so let's move on. I look at number 3. Now, number 3 is to select all, so that's great. So number 3 says to select all the expressions that have a value less than 1,764. So I know I'm looking for that. Operation, I'm looking for a value less than. So let's look at A. Would A give me a value less than the given number? Right, A doesn't work because A is actually equal to because 3/3 is 1 whole. So this would give me the same number. It would stay the same. Look at B. Would B give me less than? Right, B would give me less than because I'm multiplying by a fraction less than 1. So when I look here, does B work? And the correct answer is yes, B does work. I'm multiplying by a fraction less than 1. Look at C. Does C work? Again, if you're referring to rules, hopefully you would notice that C absolutely does not work because, again, multiplying by 1, it's going to end up being equal. Look at letter D, 1,764 times 1/2. Does that work? And again, that answer is yes, this one would make it less than my given number. I'm taking that number and I'm cutting it into 2 equal shares, and I'm only going to keep 1 of those shares. So D works as well. Look at E. Does E work? All right, E does not work because this is a fraction greater than 1. I have 1 whole and then I have some more. So when I'm multiplying this, it's actually going to get bigger. I'm going to get 1 full share and then half of another share. So E does not work. Our correct answers for here are B and D. Let's flip over to the back side. Again, continuing to apply those rules. Select all the expressions that have a value greater than 9,765. And so again, I'm going to refer back to my rules. When I'm multiplying by a number greater than 1, I'm getting a full share plus some more, depending on what you're multiplying by. So you're wanting to look for a number greater than 1. So look at A. Does A work? Right, A does not work because A, again, 4/4 is equal to 1 whole, so my answer would stay the same. Look at B. Does B work? B doesn't work. B does work because I have 1 and 1/2, so I'm multiplying by a number greater than 1, which means I'm going to get 1 full share of the 9,765 and then half of another share. So B does in fact work. Does C work? Again, that's correct. C does work. If I'm multiplying by 2, that means I'm getting 1 share of 9,765. And then times 2, I'm getting another share of 9,765. So my final product is definitely going to be greater than. So C works as well. Look at D. Does D work? Again, you should recognize that yes, D does work because 4/2 is greater than 1 because my numerator is greater than my denominator, which means I can regroup it. And 4/2 is equivalent to 2 whole. And again, that's going to be actually the same thing as we saw on C. So it would be, my product would be greater than 9,765. Look at E. When I look at E, does E work? Right, hopefully you recognize that E does not work. This is a fraction less than 1 because my numerator is less than my denominator. That's saying that I were to take this number, cut it into 4 equal shares, and only keep 1 of those shares. So essentially I'm dividing by 4, and that would not work. So that's less than 1, does not work. Number 5. Again, it's going to go through the same concept. Miss Foreman multiplied 5,313 times a number. The product will be less than 5,313. Select all the numbers that Ms. Foreman could have multiplied. So again, times, again, multiplying. I'm looking for less than, boom. So again, I'm going to apply those same rules. If it's less than, my product is going to be less than. If it's greater than, my product is going to be greater than. And if it's equal to, my product is going to stay the same. So 1/5, and I'm looking for less than. Does 1/5 work? And we know that 1/5 does work because 1/5 is a fraction that is less than 1. I'm only going to keep 1 of those 5 pieces. Look at B. Does B work? B does work because my numerator is greater than my denominator, which means it's a fraction greater than 1. And if I were to try to regroup this into a mixed number, it would actually go in 2 times evenly. So if it went in 2 times evenly, would B work? Right, B would not work because B is a fraction greater than 1 and I'm looking for less than. Would C work? C would work because C is less than 1. Again, I'm taking that 5,313, dividing it into 3 equal shares. I only get to keep one of those. So that's not going to work. That does work because it's a fraction less than 1 and we're looking for a fraction less than. See, I made that mistake. That's what they expect you to do. Look at D. Does D work? 3 whole. If I'm multiplying by 3 whole, again, going back to your rules, if I'm multiplying by a number greater than 1, my product is going to be greater than. And I'm looking for less than, so D does not work either. Look at E. Let's zoom in a little bit better here. Does E work? And again, E, I see that my numerator is less than my denominator, so that's a fraction less than 1, which means that E would work as well. And the last one for the night, and then we're going to wrap it up. Number 6 says, Miss McCluskey multiplied 12,675 times a number. The product was more than 12,675, and select all that she could have multiplied by. So again, here I'm looking for more than, which is the same thing as saying greater than. So does A work? Is A greater than 1? If A is greater than 1, then A would work. Does B work? If B is greater than 1, B would work. If it's not, it doesn't. So I'm not going to do this one with you. I'm going to ask you to attempt this one completely on your own. Before I sign off for the night, I just want to remind you to make sure that you're working on your science fair projects because your research paper is already due. So if you haven't turned it in, please turn it in. Other than that, you guys have a great night. Subscribe if you have not subscribed. Feel free to share for your other friends who might need help in another class. And I will see you all on Monday.